Hey there, welcome back to Algebra. In our last episode, we talked about equations and what they were and how to solve them. And so in this video, we're going to give you a few more examples of some things you might encounter in an equation that you're going to have to deal with if you're going to be able to solve them. Okay? Now, the first one, getting into the first example here, we have some division in here. Remember, all my last examples just had multiplication, adding, and subtracting. Now we've got something being divided. Okay, now last time I told you that it's helpful to add and subtract first and then do the multiplying. Okay, with division, it's a little bit different. Division is going to make it very difficult for you to solve this problem because this 2 is underneath this x plus 4. You can't subtract the 4 over when the 2 is under there. It just doesn't really work out. Okay, so what we have to do is get rid of that 2 first. Okay, so division you're going to have to do first. There's a lot of kind of nitpicky rules about how you solve equations. So how we're going to do that? Well, we're going to do the opposite of what we were doing. So what we're going to do here is we're going to put some parentheses around this guy here, and we're going to multiply by 2. Okay, those 2's cancel, and you end up with x plus 4 on one side, and over here you get 20. Okay, so basically what we've done is since we've multiplied by each side, we're basically just kind of multiplying by a huge 1. And so it's still equal to the same thing. We've got x plus 4 now equal to 20. And now we can do our subtracting to move the 4 over. And we'd end up with x is equal to 16. Okay, so when you come to division, sometimes it's a lot, well, most of the time, it's a lot easier if you get rid of that division first. And you're just going to multiply by the denominator, and that gets rid of it. Okay? In the next one here, we've got something squared. Well, what's the opposite of an exponent, you might ask? Well, the opposite of an exponent we've talked about in an earlier video is using the square root. So if we're going to square root, we have to square root both sides. Okay? If the square root of x squared is x, and the square root of 25 is 5. So our answer is 5. Okay? If you see squared terms there, it's easy peasy. You just need to square root it. You can get the answer there. Next up, what if there's a square root? Now I've got x plus 5 is equal to 5, but it's square rooted, so it's square root of x plus 5. Well, in that case, you're going to square it. That's the opposite. Okay, what's the square root of x plus 5 squared? It's whatever's in the square root. So you get rid of that square root symbol and you just have x plus 5, which is much easier to work with. And then 5 squared is 25. So if you get to this point, you already know what to do. We're going to subtract 5 from each side. And we'll end up with x equals 20. Awesome. The final one I got here is just kind of a special case sort of thing, dealing with negative numbers. Okay. Now, when you're in an equation and you see a negative x, like 2 minus x, that's really negative 1 times x. That's how you need to think about it. So in this case, we're going to still handle it the same way. We're going to subtract the 2, and you're left with negative x. This negative sign is still there, and that's equal to 20. Okay? But remember, negative x is actually negative 1 times x. So if we're going to get that to be just x, which we need to solve the problem, we have to divide, because it's being multiplied by negative 1. So we're going to do that. We're going to divide by negative 1, and we end up with negative 20. And there you go. You've got x equal to something, just a negative number this time. Keeping track of those signs and understanding where they are and how they work are very important when we're solving equations, like I've mentioned a couple times before. So making sure you keep track of your signs and where they are and what they're doing and what they mean, like in this case, is very important. Okay. I hope these examples were helpful to you when you're solving basic equations, when you're starting off, okay? When you start off doing equations, there's only ever going to be 1 or 2 steps. They're never going to give you more than that when you're doing the basics, when you're just starting out, okay? As we move forward, they're going to start adding more and more stuff to these equations. And when we get there, I'm going to show you how to handle all of that too. But just to start off, I wanted to make sure that anything that you would run into, I got you handled. Okay? So thank you once again for watching. I hope this has been helpful for you with solving equations. Next time, we're going to go do some more algebra basics. Looking forward to it. Have a great day.